You know that story we're always told about what it takes to be great? The one about natural talent and gifted prodigies? Well, what if that whole story is wrong? Today, we're going to dig into the science of unlocking the potential that's hidden in all of us, inspired by the incredible work of Adam Grant.
So often, we get stuck on where people start. We assume the ones with the most promise, they're the ones who just shine from day one. But this image, it really makes you wonder, right? What if the true test of potential isn't your starting line, but how far you're willing to climb? Okay, to really get this, let's travel back in time to 1991, to the National Junior High Chess Championships. Now, this is a world that's just dominated by fancy, elite schools with tons of resources. Basically, a place where an underdog doesn't stand a chance. I mean, you really can't make this up. The contrast is just wow. In one corner, you've got Dalton Prep, a total chess dynasty. They're the three-time defending champs from a super elite private school where kids literally learn chess in kindergarten. And in the other corner, the Raging Rooks from Harlem. These are kids from low-income neighborhoods who mostly just learned the game in middle school. As their coach put it, we didn't have any stars on our team. It's a classic David versus Goliath, except Goliath had a 10-year head start.
But you know what? The Rooks came out swinging. They pulled off this huge upset early on and just shot up the leaderboard to third place. It was amazing. But then, it all started to fall apart. In the second to last round, they just stumbled, big time. One of the players broke down crying. Another's game was so bad the coach couldn't even watch. They dropped all the way to fifth place. It looked like the dream was over.
And then, something totally wild happened. In that final round, against all the odds, while the top teams were cracking under the pressure, the Raging Rooks pulled off this unbelievable comeback. They tied for first place. These kids from Harlem, they were national champions. Just incredible. So, that's the big question here, right? How on earth did they do it? I mean, it obviously wasn't about some God-given talent or a fancy head start. So, what was their secret weapon?
Well, the answer, it turns out, is in something we usually brush off as soft skills. The Rooks' victory wasn't about the brain power they walked in with, but about the skills of character they built up over time.
Okay, so what exactly are these character skills? This is super important. This isn't about your personality. It's not something you're just born with. They are skills you can actually learn. It's the ability to be proactive, to stay disciplined when things get crazy, and to be determined when you feel like giving up. It's really about how you show up on a bad day.
And you can totally see this playing out through the eyes of the legendary coach, Bruce Pandolfini. He was just blown away. Think about it. While all the other kids were freaking out, the Rooks stayed cool. They stayed focused. They were like pros. That's not talent, my friends. That is a practiced character skill.
Okay, but this isn't just a feel-good chess story. Not at all. Let's look at this huge experiment out of Tennessee that involved over 11,000 kindergarten students. And what economists like Raj Chetty found years later, it's just mind-blowing.
Get this. You could actually predict how much a student would earn later in life just by knowing who their kindergarten teacher was. By the time they were in their mid-20s, students who had a more experienced teacher were earning over $1,000 more every single year. But why? What was going on?
I mean, look at this. The connection is just, it's right there. The more years a kindergarten teacher had under their belt, the more money their students were making 2 decades later. Now, your first thought is probably, oh, they were better at teaching reading and math. But the weird thing is, those early academic advantages, they faded after just a few years. So nope, something deeper was going on.
And here's the kicker. The advantage that actually lasted wasn't about academics at all. It all came down to these 4 character skills. Turns out, more experienced teachers were just better at teaching kids how to take initiative, how to get along with others, how to pay attention, and how to keep going when things got hard. Those were the skills that stuck.
All right, and if you're not convinced yet, this is the part that will blow your mind. When researchers looked at 4th grade data to try and predict adult income, the teachers' ratings of these behaviors were 2.4 times more powerful than standardized test scores. Just let that sink in for a second. Basically, how these kids acted mattered way, way more than what they knew on paper.
Okay, so now we know what these amazing skills are. But the real question is, how do we build them for ourselves? The secret is, honestly, a little weird. You have to become a creature of discomfort. And this little diagram, it explains everything. You don't grow where you're comfortable. Real growth only happens in that awkward, challenging, kind of scary space just beyond what you already know how to do. You have to be brave enough to step into that messy place.
Okay, let me give you a pretty wild example.
This guy, Benny Lewis, he struggled with languages for years. He thought he just wasn't born with the language gene. But he had a breakthrough when he completely flipped his goal. Instead of trying to be perfect, his new goal was to make at least 200 mistakes every single day. He literally leaned into the discomfort. And this really gets to the core of why we hate being uncomfortable, right? We think making a mistake is going to be awful. We'll feel stupid, we'll feel ashamed. But the reality, it's the complete opposite. Making mistakes is how we get smarter. It's how we build courage. It's how we grow. So Benny completely flipped the script. Mistakes weren't a sign of failure. They were a sign he was actually trying.
In this right here, this visual, it shows you exactly what happens if you start today and you're willing to be messy and make mistakes, you make real, actual progress. But if you wait until you feel ready, well, you might never start at all and you just flatline. That willingness to just jump in, even when you're not ready, that's the whole ballgame.
All right, so let's tie all of this together. The story of the Raging Rooks, the science of character skills, all of it points to a totally new way of thinking about our own potential. If you remember one thing from all this, let it be this. We're so obsessed with celebrating the people who reach the highest peak. But this perspective asks us to admire the distance traveled, the struggle, the climb, the growth. It's a totally different, and I think, a much better way of thinking about success.
Which brings us right back to the beginning, this pawn's journey. It's the perfect metaphor. See, potential isn't some fixed thing you're born with. It's the capacity to travel that whole board, to push through challenges, and to become something so much greater than what you were at the start.
So, I'm going to leave you with a question. We know that growth is fueled by discomfort. So what's that one little thing, that slightly uncomfortable, awkward, or challenging thing you could do today that might just start you on the path to unlocking your own hidden potential?